Hi, this is Shu with a review of the Jimmy Butler signature shoe from li-ning. It's the jb1. That's a lazy naming. That's the lazy way to name it. The logo is this. I don't think it's really creative or brilliant, but okay, that's Jimmy Butler. Interesting thing is that the outsole pattern is sort of like a repeat of that Jimmy Butler logo pattern. The outsole pattern is really good. It's a pretty wide, slightly diamond grid with herringbone pattern, and this is pretty good. It grips the floor well. It's pretty not that sensitive to dust. And interestingly, they used a sort of a foam rubber. This is not as vulnerable and mushy as Under Armour Flow, but it's definitely softer than rubber because this is closer to foam than rubber. The good thing about this is that it brings the best of both worlds. A bit more durable than Flow, but as sticky as Flow. Because Flow, the good thing about Flow is that before the pattern wears off, because the grooves kind of squish and squash and sticks to the floor, that's the advantage of having Flow. But at the same time, it's pretty sensitive to dust, but this doesn't squish as easily as Flow, so this is less dust sensitive. The li-ning has been around for forever, it seems, and the Way of Weight series has been their flagship model, and the Jimmy Butler one, I think this is catering to what Jimmy Butler wants. And if you remember the Kobe 11s, not the Kobe 360, but the Kobe 11s, this is very similar to Kobe 11. So if you loved your Kobe 11s, think of this as Kobe 11 with better traction, because Kobe 11 traction was trash. You only need to play in clean courts, otherwise the dust sensitive outsole will just let you skate all over the place. So for a size 9.5, it weighs about 390 grams, so it's not the lightest shoe out there. But interestingly, maybe it's because of the way the foam is distributed, it doesn't feel as heavy as what the digits show. That's interesting. There's a lot of heavy padding around the ankle, and there's a little reinforced TPU there. So it seems to hug your foot nicely, but I did feel a bit of a heel slippage. Not as bad as the LeBron 20s, not as bad as the KD 15s, but still it's not the kind of lockdown you would expect from something this well padded. Overall, li-ning does a good job of making a shoe that forms nicely to your foot and provides a good lockdown, not like the typical Chinese shoe like Anta or Peak, which tend to have this crazy dead space on the toe area. As you can see, it's very sharp and flat, so that is nice. But at the same time, it's pretty narrow. And there's foam all around it, and there's this additional TPU material. It's not exactly solid, but it's pretty, plasticky surrounding it. So try it on, decide what fits for you. If you like the Kobe's and the Kyries and you go true to size and you have a very narrow foot and it fits nicely, then you can go true to size, or maybe even go down half a size to make a firm form-fitting fit. But I would suggest for ordinary folks, true to size, or if you like to have some wiggle room in your shoe, half a size up. I went half a size up, and it's just nice. It looks like it's very breathable, but it's not as breathable as it seems. It's not even as breathable as the LeBron 20s, which had that nice little mesh upper. So deceptively not as breathable as it seems, but more breathable than just having a lot of leather or hyperfuse coated material. Breathability decent, but not as incredible as what your eyes show. So interesting thing is that they have this little TPU part on the side. This thing on the lateral side actually works like what you've had in the KD 14s. It actually provides a little breakage as you approach near accidental ankle rollover. So this is good. At the same time, there's a huge outrigger and additional foam material hugging the side of your foot, working as a huge wing outrigger. The base is also pretty wide, so in terms of lateral stability, this is really good. And also interestingly, there's this very sharp cut here to make sure you have that quick first step as you move forward. Usually I would give this a plus point, but unfortunately with this here, this huge dug hole here, this vacuum, it actually makes your heel sink a little bit extra than it should. If they didn't have this, I think it would have been better. So because the removable midsole is really pretty flat. I mean, it does have a visible heel to toe drop, but it's overall very flat. And at the same time, with this little gap, you feel a bit of a sinkage there. So that's a bit of a disappointment. Yeah, the traction is really good. Breathe dust proof, I think I covered that, but it's not going to be as eraser-like as Flow, but it's not going to be as durable as most rubber outsoles. So it's an interesting choice. There's a huge carbon plate here that goes throughout the shoe, and it's not inside the shoe, but rather near the outsole where it should be, where it doesn't hinder the cushioning. Other Chinese shoe like Peak, it was interesting because their plates, when I did the Edward Norton American History X bite the curb step on the curb, then it actually cracked. So that was interesting. This, I tried it, tested it many times just to see if they're just as bad as their other Chinese brand neighbor, but it's actually pretty durable, so I was fairly impressed. Li-ning has been around a little bit longer, so I think they do a good job of QC. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers the shoe part. The drop-in midsole, the Boom midsole, it's ETPU, but it's very dense. It's kind of like Boost, but a lot denser. Float Ride of Reebok, that's what it feels like. Float Ride has a tendency to really bottom out immediately when you step on it. So it seems like it's not providing that shock absorption that you liked, that you are accustomed to from other foam or Boost kind of material. So this is what it feels like. It's very low to the ground, which is why I said it feels like the Kobe 11, although they used Lunar Lawn and it was pretty dense. This is what it feels like. It looks like Boost, but it's a lot lighter than Boost, and it's a lot denser and very thin. So that's the kind of cushioning you get thanks to the outsole, which acts sort of like a semi midsole. There's a bit of an added cushioning there. That's why it feels a little bit cushier than Kobe 11s, but this is just as low as Kobe 11s. Remember Kobe 11s, that's what I'll go back to. For me, Kobe 11 was not a very impressive shoe in terms of the cushioning it provided. It was very minimal, very mediocre. But if you like that low to the ground bounciness, firmness, instead of the cushioning that kind of like soaks you in like Zoom Air, if you're anti-Zoom Air, go for it. The coating on the top, which should be providing some degree of comfort and traction, is very minimal, very flimsy. It's paper thin, so it's neither there. It's like it's not even there. So yeah, it's not exactly doing a great job of providing that carpet-like welcoming sensation that you get. So there it is. The price is an issue. This is such an expensive shoe. I don't know why Li-ning does this. They think they're the Gucci or Prada or some designer label. They should really do something about that. Fortunately, if you know some personal vendors or when they're on sale, then you can get them. They also vary greatly depending on the colorways. This doesn't say Miami anywhere. It doesn't feel like Miami. Then there are other colors that actually screams Miami. That's actually more expensive. So if you want a more affordable color, get the non-Miami-like color. Yeah, this is considering the fact that if you try the other Jimmy Butler shoes from Jordan brand, they were pretty firm and lackluster. This is actually some of the better Jimmy Butler shoes that you will get. Again, Kobe 11s with slightly better cushioning, just as low to the ground, and very good traction compared to the Kobe 11s.